Let me tell you brothers, probably the most interesting thing about Chainsawman Part 2 is the limited information and pure ignorance of our characters and how they walk among death and devils and calamity, not even realizing how screwed they are until it's too late. Because this story honestly is like a chaos of a genre. Is it a love manga rom-com, a battle manga, mystery, horror? Fujimoto is creating something crazy as hell that very few authors could even create, because this truly feels like a slice of life, but with the added bonus that we live in Chainsawman's universe, where devils live among us and evil is commonplace. Lately though, the goofy start to these insane chapters and the very dark tones and cliffhangers have been starting to form this sort of pattern, you could say. So we keep following Asa's story, but there is such a huge amount of dramatic irony because us, the audience, know things Asa Mitaka does not. And Fujimoto has kept that same tension throughout this part 2 and within her POV. She's got a war devil, Yoru, who is also oblivious, but just competent enough to guide Asa through this Chainsawman world and fulfill her goal. But the things that they do not know will eventually be too great for them to overcome. So in short, you could actually summarize part 2 in 5 words. Fuck around and find out. It's kind of crazy to think about. However, brothers, we do have some bad news. The Asaden ship might be over. It might have already sunk. And Yoru and Asa keep effing around and destroying their own relationships on pure ignorance alone. It seems our first impression of Nayuta is a pretty freaking big one. As the control devil, Nayuta can influence the minds of her subjects, so she took the initiative to turn Asa into a dog, erase her memory, and cause Asa and Denji to break up. It's funny how a grade schooler is so powerful, but if you dwell on how smart this devil is, paired with the fact that it's in a child's body and how much power it holds, you'd kind of expect this child is gonna kind of be a menace. And Nayuta is a problem child. She thinks everything is her property and only can be reasoned with by Denji, who is familiar with her habits and kind of makes deals with her. So as long as Nayuta is happy, Denji will put her first. And it's an interesting dynamic that they have. What's interesting is that Nayuta was like her predecessor, Makima, and had a nose to sniff out trouble. She acted in Denji's best interest because she knew Asa and Yoru were trouble. In this week's chapter, with chapter 24, the Asaden relationship looks like it's over really. Now that Asa had her memories altered and was stood up by Denji, Asa has this sort of coping quirk where she overthinks the situation and kind of likes to get in her own head about feeling anxious. Asa is like if social anxiety was made into a human being, just this mess of a person mentally. And Asa knows that she's like that. She knows how her awkward nature means something is actually kind of wrong with her. But low-key, Fujimoto just wrote a character that expresses that feeling of failure. It's almost comforting to acknowledge or cope with those feelings, but they gnaw away at a person, and that is Asa. So today, Asa has walked away from that Denji relationship, and now Yoshida has slid in, and my guy took full advantage of Asa's feelings. Yoshida had Asa hook, line, and sinker. She's way too easy, but Asa is just too naive to even care. They meet together to have a chat, and immediately Asa's mind is racing because she's thinking of the possibility that they could start a relationship now. Yoshida literally says all the right things that she wants to hear. Asa is a loner type of person that has very profound social anxiety, so making connections like friends, lovers, or people is such a drag to her. And Yoshida perfectly affirms her values by saying the solitary life is less risky, going into detail about parasocial relationships and whatever. Only a freaking weirdo like Asa would actually find this kind of conversation attractive. She's like, oh my, he's talking about the interpersonal intricacy of parasocial norms, like how society and the media normalize one-sided relationships. He does like me. Bruh, you can't make this shit up. Asa is hopeless. How out of everything, how was that conversation a turn on for her? Nonetheless, when Yoshida is suddenly about to make that big classic love reveal that he actually likes her, instead, he suddenly tells her, I want you to stay away from Denji. And yo, that dog Yoshida got a silver tongue. Bro casually got in her feelings, then pushed his denji agenda, and then refused to elaborate. That is what I'm talking about. Yoshida is perhaps one of the most unspoken, devious characters in Chainsawman. My man is calculated. It's either that or the allegations are true. He did say to interpret that however he wanted to. In the next section, we again see Nayuta's intuition as she recalls the nastiest devil she ever smelled, and funnily encouraged Denji to get to hunting devils. Right now, Denji is super bummed out because he knows that Nayuta is just gonna come along and cockblock him anytime he gets a girl. So he wonders if he'll just be single forever. So being the manipulation mastermind that Nayuta is, she lifts Denji's spirits by ensuring if Denji goes full chainsaw again, the people will love him. He'll get even more love than even from a simple girlfriend. So this goofball Dennis thinks it over for like 2 seconds, then agrees with Nayuta.
Oh shit, here we go again.
I honestly think it's kinda hilarious how Denji can fumble the hottest girls in Chainsaw Man and or experience the most toxic and traumatic relationships, then proceed to try again like Fujimoto's about to let Denji land one this time. Can't wait to see where this goes. Definitely not gonna lead to death and suffering and long-term PTSD this time, right? But I still really like Denji's dynamic with Nayuta because they have such profound sibling energy. Nayuta could virtually get anything she wanted to with her power, but seems to really respect Denji and wants him to be happy. I'd say it's safe to assume they love each other like family, but Nayuta is still learning to love, you could say. Denji is slowly teaching her in like the training phase, but honestly, this is still Fujimoto's story. Nayuta is like a ticking time bomb along with the other horsemen. We then see Asa trying to cope with their meeting with Yoshida, and Asa knows she's just got no hope for love. She gets to know people, thinks people like her, then when she's wrong, her feelings get hurt. Asa questions who she's living for. Her life's been crappy and she only thinks about herself, but when she's feeling lonely, she wants companionship. So with all that pressure and teen angst building up, Asa feels like it's better off if she just was dead. Even Yoru says she's being too hard on herself, but as they're feeling this way, a body drops next to them from a nearby apartment. Then a sudden bad vibe fills the air, and Yoru takes control to warn Asa. The chapter ends with a group of controlled-like people staring down at Yoru. Now, initially, I'd say some type of devil is controlling this mass of people, or they're under the service of a devil. If Nayuta isn't involved, my money would either be on the famine devil, or maybe, just maybe, even the death devil has come to see Yoru or Asa as a show of force or as a warning. Usually a mass of people like this would indicate a powerful devil, and Asa literally said out loud, "I'd be better off dead." As always though, Fujimoto could be cooking up anything. The death devil could really spice up the story and introduce a real threat leading to an apocalyptic type scenario. I think story-wise, a transcendent being and character like Death is perfect and could add even more chaos to this part 2. Lately, there's been a lot of build-up, and I really do enjoy it. I enjoy the journey, a few deaths here and there, and climactic moments, but I'm waiting on that real bomb to drop. That moment that literally makes me hold my breath. I remember reading the Darkness Devil section in the International Assassins arc, and that shit was peak. If Fujimoto ever goes back to that style in any way, I'd just love to see it. Though what I really appreciated about this chapter was the presence and intrigue Yoshida took to Asa. Obviously, he was keeping tabs on what's going on and has some idea of what Asa is capable of, but keeps his intentions very low-key. I imagine Asa could compromise Denji's secrecy or be in the way of Yoshida's agenda. Whatever the case though, Yoshida is definitely a person of interest and has a lot of convenience and mystery surrounding his character that make him probably the most suspicious character in all of part 2. But what do you awesome guys think? How will Denji reveal himself? What is Yoshida's intentions? And what is happening in the cliffhanger? Comment below what you awesome guys think. Fujimoto is a complete enigma of a person, so whatever they're cooking, it's gonna change everything, I hope. And I cannot wait to see what happens. Maybe soon I'll cook up some theories vids on Chainsawman regarding the Death Devil, Yoshida, Chainsawman, etc. But until then, I'll see you awesome guys in the next one. Bye bye.